used some techniques, and I thought, okay, let's make that this week's topic because we all have buyers that we're working with, and we want to just, have some good techniques to, close and some different ideas. So, okay, I see we were recording now. So good. Thank you, Jalexa. And then we'll talk a little bit about buyer side, and then we'll talk a little bit about being on the listing side. Um, Carol, I know you were with Mo this weekend when she had her open house and
Yeah, it was really good.
had a lot of people through. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Mo had a really great plan for somebody who was very afraid of COVID. So, and she ended up getting 9 offers, I think, 8 or 9 offers.
That place was beautiful.
Yeah. And it went for way more than it should have.
I
Like,
know. That's good though.
so it's just,
We met some crazy characters.
really.
Yeah. Couple Redfin agents. They were kind of odd, but
Yeah. Yeah, they're Redfin agents are a little bit of a breed of their own, I think.
yeah.
But anyway, all right. So, Dan, do you want to kind of get started with some buy side and just tell us a couple of things that you did this weekend?
Sure.
This weekend?
So I've been seeing, I mean, the markets are a little different in each. I do a couple different states, but I've been seeing overall that the magic number's been around 15,000 over asking price, between 15 and 20,000. It always seems to fall in that threshold. So I got a deal the other day, and what I did is I started adjusting my escalation clause. I actually started going, if the property was 200,000, I would go in at 215 as the initial offer with an escalation clause of maybe 5,000 more or 6,000 more. And I've been seeing a lot better response than just going at 200,000 with a 20,000 escalation, because we're seeing a lot of people that actually get these deals at 20,000 over, and then they get cold feet. They go, oh shit, I overpaid. And they back out. And so listing agents are actually taking notice to this, and they're saying, wait a minute, this guy, they already were set on stone to go at 215. So $5,000 isn't that big of a deal to escalate from there. But when you escalate 20,000, 30,000 over your initial offer, you might have a little bit of kickback on that. So
That's a good point. Let's stop and talk about that for a second. So obviously the buyer has to be in the right frame of mind, right? And obviously then, you can't really, what did you do about did you guys talk about, appraisal or anything like that?
not on that one, but I have in the past actually offered $5,000 that we'd pay $5,000 over appraised value if it doesn't appraise. I've done 10,000. It all depends on the financial situation of the buyers, but I always have that conversation up front. Like when I take my first initial buyer's consultation meeting with them, I tell them about the market. I show them properties that have sold in one day, multiple offers. And I show them how much it's gone over. So I set the expectations up front. So, you guys, if you guys are looking at 300,000 as your price point, you be prepared to pay 320. So, you gotta literally add $20,000 to every price tag and keep that in mind, because otherwise you're just going to set yourself up for disaster. You're not going to get these properties. So start looking a little bit below and expect to pay higher.
What about, and by the way, that's actually a really good point. That's something that we haven't really talked about, is actually just starting higher to start. As a buyer's agent, so say you're first in, were you calling the agent and texting them and finding out when, the offers are going to be presented? Did they have anything up front? Did they change? What happened on that end?
Yeah, a lot of times the listing agents will post online or on showing time when their cutoff date is for those offers. And I usually don't put my offer in right away. I usually wait until the last hour or two, just in case that they have their own buyers, and I don't give them a lot of time to adjust. And that's just kind of my strategy. I kind of wait till the last minute and send it in. And it seemed to work, because a lot of times I've seen in the past couple months that when I'm the first one in, I send my offer in there, they're excited about it. We're 10, 15,000 over, but then all of a sudden someone comes in 20,000 over. But a lot of times that I've gotten the last couple deals I sent them in the last 11th hour and got them. So maybe it didn't give them enough time to adjust, or talk to people, because everyone has friends in this business and not everyone's ethical. So you got to really be careful. And
So
that's,
two points on that. I feel like I'm interviewing you. So 2 points on that, Dan. So I think what happens is when you come in towards the end, it does not give the agent the ability to either shop it or, it doesn't allow for another agent to go, hey, where do I need to be to make this work? Because, buyer's agent, that's what we want to say. Hey, where do we need to be? Can you tell us anything? And so if you're first one in and that listing agent goes, well, hey, I got one, 15 over or 16 over, then they know where to come in.
right. And as a buyer's agent, it's not illegal for you to ask questions. It's illegal for them to answer them.
No, it's not, no, I don't think it's illegal for them to answer, but they have to get the okay from the seller, because they can answer as long as it's getting the seller a higher price. But, if the seller allows them to say, hey, it's not, I wouldn't say it's illegal, Dan.
It's a fine line of ethics
It is.
violations, and you just got to be careful with it. So what I'm saying is wait till the last minute to do it. Make sure you don't, go over that threshold, because they could say you didn't get your offer in. When we're talking, properties are expensive now. So there's, sometimes $15,000 to $20,000 on the line here. And if someone has a buyer on the line, I mean, that's a lot of money, especially when they're not getting houses sold. So you just got to be careful with it.
Yeah, so I think, and then here's the other problem too. So what happens is sometimes you can't get through to the agent if the agent's really busy fielding calls, and I'll get back to you. But I think a very important question to ask if you have a buyer is, if your seller, do you think your seller will accept an offer sooner than your deadline? Because the seller has a right to take one of the offers before the deadline.
Right.
I mean, it sucks for everybody else, but I think they have a right to do that, and you wouldn't want to necessarily miss out. So you could take the tactic. So here's the flip side of that. Could you be the buyer's agent and say, hey, I'm going to come in with a really good, offer here, well over asking, would your seller consider taking my offer before that deadline? I mean, maybe try.
Like I said, it's not illegal to ask questions. So
Okay.
whatever you can do to be in your best interest of your buyer, do it. As long as it doesn't, cross any boundaries. But you're right. I mean, whatever's in the best interest of the seller is what that listing agent is going to do.
And even though they have a deadline, the seller can take an offer ahead of time. The seller can take an offer before that deadline, right?
I did not know that.
They could. I mean, if the seller's in control, it's the seller's, it's their house. They can do whatever they want.
I mean, so if you have a buyer and you kind of initially going with Dan's initial, reaction of, hey, I'm going to wait till the 11th hour, I'm going to wait till the last minute, just be careful that you don't lose it either. Okay. So you just have to really kind of stay in touch with the agent and say, hey, is your seller going to accept any offers before then? Are you really waiting, to present until then? If you're going to present sooner, let me know.
Yeah, the other thing I usually do is I make my offer, when I send it over in the email, I make it stand out. I might put urgent on the subject line or put in some details, and I always put the details of my offer in the summary. So when they open the email up, everything is right there, because when you get like 10 or 15 offers, you start missing things. I mean, I've had agents that go, oh shit, I forgot you even sent in an offer because you're the first one. And I have, they get mixed up in your emails. If I do send one in before the deadline, I always follow up and say, make sure that they respond to your email saying they got it, because they can miss it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. So in your subject line, urgent offer on, offer for, and then put the address in. I think summarizing it is very important. All the details, price, how much money down, how much money in escrow, settlement date. If you want to do a little narrative on your buyers are flexible with settlement date. They can go sooner, they can go later. Maybe offer to, let the seller stay in the house rent free for up to, a week or 2 weeks or something like that. So it's an easier move for them, but all that in the body of the email, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Great idea. I'm going to back up a second, Dan, because we jumped kind of right into presenting the offer. So one of the things that you told me when we were talking is that you actually just reached out to your buyers and you said, hey, we're going out this weekend. Here's a house. Let's go see it.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that as opposed to a buyer, you waiting for a buyer saying, oh, hey, do you want to see this house?
Yeah. So first off, I usually rank my buyers. I usually have A buyers, B buyers, and C buyers. And my A buyers are ready to pull triggers. They're writing offers. And I usually work, give them the most attention. And so what I usually do with them is I usually line them up a week ahead of time and say, okay, this is what we're going to go see. And they usually go see it. Then my B buyers, they're in the market, but they're not really, A buyers. And I usually call them up and I set appointments for them. I literally tell them, we're going to go see properties on Wednesday or Thursday. What works for you? And usually they're like, I could probably do Thursday or Friday. I'm like, okay, well, let's go. And I set them up. And I either pick them and say, I give them a time frame. I usually say, let's go from 3 to 4. Does that work? And they say, yeah. I usually don't tell them all the houses that we're going to go see. I usually just tell them that we're going to go see 1 or 2. And I set up a couple of them. So I try to get as much in as I can in that hour. And usually when people see something that they love, they buy it. It's not really me pushing the house on them. It's me providing the product to them. So, you got to kind of set that because people, they want to buy a house, but if they're not engaged in it, they're not going to buy it. And sometimes they're reluctant to waste your time on a house because they think it might not be the right one. But when they get there and see it, it is the right one. So I might be a little bit on the aggressive side, but it seems to work for me. Like if you really start setting appointments for people, you'll see results.
Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I have some thoughts, but I don't want to dominate the conversation here. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions on that? I think that's important because I found myself these last few years, maybe even longer, waiting for my customer to contact me to see a house. So this is actually completely different. And I'm going to work on that. And I think it's important that we should do this because we're getting ready to get all these leads from St. Pro. So it's going to be important for us to be able to, first of all, categorize A, B, C buyers. And then secondly, how you're going to handle them, how you're going to stay in contact with them. So I think that's really a great point, Dan. So so look, it's a little bit aggressive, but do it in your own way. So if you're not a very aggressive person, you can basically be the initiator though. There's nothing wrong with you calling a person saying, hey, there's these really great houses. Let's go this week. What day works for you? I'm available Wednesday, Thursday. What's better for you? So it's a little bit easier way than, not quite as aggressive as Dan does. But see, Dan, you got that personality and they're used to you. So that's okay.
Well, I tell them up front. I tell them, look, if you're going to be working with me, I'm a go-getter. So I got to make sure that you're on board to buy a house. If you're not, then I'm going to work with somebody else. And usually they're like, yeah, no, we want to buy a house. Then, okay, then when houses come up in your price range and what you want, let's go see them. I don't care if you tell me when we pull up the driveway that you don't like them, because if you say that, I have 3 more I'm going to show you. And I already set them up and we go. And if they don't like them, I just call and cancel them. And that's how you have to be in this market because the next day they're going to be sold.
Right.
And you have to set up a couple houses too. When they find a house they want to buy, make sure you have a backup plan for when that doesn't go through and be ready to write a contract on that one. I mean, sometimes I sit down and write 2 contracts out and give them, okay, the deadline's on Monday for this one, but the deadline's on Tuesday for this one. So let's see if we don't get this one, we'll flip it right into this one and get this one. And you got to think ahead.
So that's important when we get like Opcity leads and when we get these St. Pro leads, okay? And so you're getting these leads that you don't know. You're having a conversation with them. You haven't met them yet, okay? And so I know that's a whole nother conversation, but when you get through the initial, say, interview on the phone, your initial discussion, hey, which house you want to see, how long you've been looking, are you pre-approved for a mortgage? You've got to ask all these questions to make sure that they're ready to go and bona fide buyers. And yes, you try to set up the appointment that they called on for that house, but 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be sold or maybe pending, or it's going to go quickly. So you really do have to have a backup. And you can say, hey, if this house doesn't work out, I can find you other houses. So set up, when we go to see this one, I'm going to try to set up another house or two.
Right. So
Yeah.
here's another point that I usually do. When I know that they don't get the house, when I call them to say, I got really bad news that you didn't get the house, I usually, tell them that, but then I follow up with, good news is I got 3 more to show you today. Let's go. And I think you're going to like these better. Everything happens for a reason. You didn't get that, forget it. Because that's a big emotional shock to somebody, because they're emotionally involved. They want to buy this house. It's really disturbing to some people, and they fall back, and they think something's wrong with them as buyers, and all this stuff going on in their head. But if you have something positive to bring to the table on that, it usually just straightens them right out and gets them right back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point, because, basically our customers feed off of how we present things to them. So if we go back to them and we're like, oh man, I am so sorry, that really stinks, we didn't get that house. You're gonna drag them right down with you. You feel that inside, because you're like, ah, crap, now we got to keep going. But if you keep positive,
sometimes we feel that we're like, oh God,
right.
I gotta go show them more houses. I got a client right now that I've wrote 7 offers for, but he's a VA buyer, and he's 100% financing. It's just a tough time to be in the business for VA. And there's nothing we can do. And I said, look, it might take us 10 or 15 tries to get you a house, but we're going to get you one.
That's almost like, Dan, you should write a letter about how he served our country, and you almost have to.
Julie, I've done it all.
You have to stumble upon like
No
a
letters, that's
seller.
discriminating.
What's that?
No letters, that's discriminating.
I know. Well, not on the buyer end. Not on the buyer end.
I've waived commission without even tell them, and sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll say, look, I'll take 2% on this deal on top of what they offered, 20,000 more than asking price. And I usually don't tell the buyers I do that, because they're going to expect me to do that on every deal. So if it's a special situation, I'll do that with the other agent. And if it happens, it happens. Then I'll tell them later at settlement, oh yeah, by the way, I threw in, $2,000 to get this deal done. And then you're the hero of the day forever.
And then that's when you ask for referrals to make.
Then you get referrals, right? Exactly. That's right, Julie.
So that's actually a good point. So, I don't know that you want to throw in your commission all the time, but if it's a special situation, if it's, warranted, if the person's,
if you wrote 8 offers for a client and they're taking every weekend of your day up, you just want them out of your life and into a nice house, $2,000 is worth that to me.
Yeah. That's a good point.
What's your time worth? You got to draw the line at some point. If you don't make money on this one, you'll make it up on referrals, because they're going to be happy to get in a house.
Yeah, that's true.
And at some point, they're going to give up. I mean, he's already had a couple conversations with me about maybe we should just, stay renting for another year. And I'm like, well, I just wasted 4 weekends of my life with you. That's not happening. You're getting a house. Whether I make any money on it or not, you're getting in something.
So that's a buyer that you would have to look at something that's been sitting on the market for a while that needs work or whatever. Is that something that buyer is willing to accept, or is there nothing really in the market that person?
Every weekend there's new houses in his price range, but Delaware is like ridiculous. Every single offer I've done in the last 2 weeks has had probably 13 plus offers on it. And, we're a VA buyer, so it's, it's just tough.
It does seem like listings are coming on the market, right? But they're also selling just as fast too, right? It kind of seems like right when we opened up after COVID, after we were shut down, July, August, houses kept coming up on the market, but then they kept going too, right? I feel like we're back to that. But the prices are so much higher now. Do you guys notice that too?
They are. So I was just reading some analytics on it, and they said that property values have gone up $24,000 in the past 12 months. And that's crazy. So like in Chester County alone, it's 16% increase in property value. So people are getting 16% equity in their property in 1 year. And they're looking at it, they're like, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop for the next 12 months or so. Interest rates are still at 3% or lower. You know, the demand is still there. It's going to be crazy. So your people that are paying $20,000 over their price, they're probably not going to be in trouble because the property values are going to go up even more.
That's true. And then-
After all this is done, though, do you think the property prices are going to go back down? Like the values are going to go back down?
Absolutely. At some point, it's got to stop, but it's not going to stop in the next 12 months. That's for sure. So, you know, right now it's not really a big concern of the economics of it, but probably in about 12 months, it might start to be a concern because then it's going to start to switch a little bit. But it's hard to say. But right now, all the analysts are saying it's going to keep continuing. Supply and demand is ridiculous.
So if you have a buyer with that concern, Sam, or anybody,
Yeah, I do.
so here's the thing, you only lose if you sell. So if they're gonna stay in that house for 7-10 years, you know, they're gonna get equity, tell them to pay a little bit down on their, you know, the interest rates are so low right now. And, you know, yes, it may go down, but it may come back up again when they're ready to sell. So it's just like the stock market. You know, if you don't, I know the value went down a little bit, but you only lose the actual money if you sell it.
And not only that, is the interest rates are so low right now, they might not be like that. They are creeping up. I mean, they've gone down
Yeah.
from like low 2s up to into the 3s.
Right.
And they're probably going to keep coming up to the 4s eventually. So your purchasing power is ridiculous right now. And you can get a lot more. So if they wait, they're going to not only pay more for the property because the property values are going to go up, but they're going to pay more for it in their payment because of the interest rates.
Yeah.
So right now is literally the best time to buy something,
Even if you're paying too much.
even if you're paying too much. I mean, right now it's crazy. It's the best time to sell something, and it's like the weirdest market I've ever seen.
It's very strange. Does anybody Dan, do you have any other kind of tips for buyers? Because we're kind of switch over to the sellers here in a minute. Anybody, and any other questions? If anybody has any, need any help with your buyers, jump in.
Just getting them pre-approved right off the bat, and not just pre-approved like they talk to your mortgage guy. I mean, give them all their stuff up front. So one thing that has helped me again on these deals is I have my mortgage person contact them and say, listen, I have them fully approved. They've already gone through the underwriting process. They are ready to go. We can close these things quick. And that goes through a big thing. Like I have a couple buyers right now that are using like Rocket Mortgage, and I can't even get the people on the phone. Like it's, you know, when they ask me a question, are these people good? I have to tell them, I guess, you know, because I can't even get the mortgage person on the phone. I mean, at least with Tracy and them, we can call her right away, and she's already got everything done.
So
I just want to go back to, because I'm writing it down. I want to make sure that I got it right. So Dan, you were saying best time to buy, best time to sell. You said it's the weirdest kind of market, which yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
Best time to buy, is it solely because of the interest rates, even if people are overpaying? Is that the only factor?
No. So the interest rates are historically low right now, but if you buy a property today, next week they might go up $10,000. And the week after that, they might go up another $10,000. So you're getting instant equity as soon as you buy a property right now. And that hasn't happened in a long time.
since 2005, 6, 7, 8, until then the market crashed at that point.
So,
That
and
was
then
all back go up for 3 years.
Right. And then the flip
Wow.
to the seller's perspective, there's low inventory. So they're getting, you know, top dollar for their property right now. And they're selling within a day or two and not having to do any inspections and not have to do any of this stuff. It's like the perfect storm for buyers and sellers.
Most houses.
Pretty
Not
much.
everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I might have done one inspection in the last, maybe like 10 deals I've done. It's just, you can't get deals done with inspections right now. And it's,
So overall, if you have a seller and they sell their house and they're getting a great price, blah, 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 but then they have to be a buyer. So then they get thrown into that whole bidding craziness. And the reason why I'm asking is because I had a sell by and they decided to stay put, but I keep in contact with them. And I said I wanted to meet with them again, just briefly to discuss what's going on. This is like 6 months later. So what I'm trying to get at is if they sell now and kind of get on this wave and then they become the buyer, like what's the arguing point there that because they were scared off by the bidding war and they didn't want to overpay.
Are they
25,000.
Are they upsizing or downsizing, Mel?
Upsizing.
Okay. So, I mean, I have my thoughts. Does anybody
So
else?
they're selling something and then going into something about 200,000 more.
Okay. So so when you're buying something larger and your interest rates are low, that the buying power is the most positive thing for them. This is the right time because the interest rates are low, because they're borrowing more. Okay, that's the angle for them. If they were to buy it more when the interest rates were higher, they'd be paying more money a month. They'd be paying more. Okay, so the interest rates being low is the most positive for that one. And then I would say if you want to talk to them about talking points, their house is worth more than what you talked to them about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And so, but if they keep waiting, they're going to keep paying more and more and more on that higher end. So it's all relative. So, 10% on 300,000 is different than 10% on 600,000. Okay. So it's all relative. They should buy now before the prices keep going up. I don't know if that makes sense. Sometimes that's hard for people to understand that. And then here's the other thing for them. So they can actually, if they do go on the market and they do want to move, listen, they have to want to move. Okay. They have to want it. You can't talk them into it, but, they are on the selling end. They are in a good position that they can negotiate either renting back or staying in the house longer. They've got that position. So that gives them time to then go buy something else. So
That's a good point. The position to rent back and stay longer.
And you can negotiate that in. You can say, hey, we'll wait for the right buyer. And maybe you get 6 offers, but nobody wants to wait. You know what? You don't take them because it's not the right terms. So you wait for the right buyer that can let them stay in for 1 or 2 months. And then that gives them more time to find something. Now listen, and then if worst case scenario, they can't find something, then maybe they have to get temporary housing. But here's a good point on that. They're ready to go and they're ready to jump when the right house comes up. Yes, they have to move twice, but they're going to be a good buyer because their money's in the bank. They don't have anything to sell or settle and they're ready to go.
Yeah. I don't think they'd move somewhere, but I mean, they had the whole entire place painted, put stuff into storage even, and were ready to stage, and then pulled the plug. And I said, look, I respect your decision. Let's just keep in contact. So
They might be ready to go again. They might be ready to go again. So
yeah.
go back and see.
I'll
Get
hit
back
them
in
up
their
again.
house, Mo. Get back in their house and say, hey, let me see what the house looks like. Then go
Yeah,
back.
I'm going to ask for a face-to-face. Yeah.
Yes, get in there and say, oh, this is great. Buyers would love this, and get them excited about it. You don't want to talk them into doing something they don't want to do, but get them excited about the process again.
And just explain like what's going on, even though I'm sure they're aware of it, but from my point, a realtor's point of view.
But I think in that situation, though, you do really need to find out why they pulled the plug and what's going on with them, and if they do have the desire to move.
Okay.
You're not talking them into doing something they don't want to do.
Okay. All right.
That makes sense?
Thank you. Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So any other thoughts on the buying side? So I'm just going to say one last comment. Yes, we're going to start when we start with the Sync Pro. We're going to get a lot of leads again, and so we really need to work on and I don't mind role playing one-on-one with you. It's almost like, you guys, some of you guys don't know what floor time is, but we used to do floor time. So when a call would come in and they'd say, hey, I want to, ask about the house. Is the house still for sale? And you have to learn how to have a conversation instead of just saying, no, it's not for sale. Okay, bye. You've got to be able to have a conversation to turn that around and make it into somebody that's worth working for. So that might be something that we should work on before we start getting these Sync Pro leads too, is our ability to talk to people. Yes, I know people want to be texted and emailed and all that, but man, if you can have a conversation, that's better than anything. And then you ask the right questions. So maybe that's something that we can kind of do on the side, maybe not on the one chat, but if you guys want to do one-on-one, I used to teach that class about, it was a floor talk, it was a floor call, but basically it's really what it is. It's a potential client call, really. And you have to practice and get good at it. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
I was going to say, so I just sold 2 new construction houses, and one thing I always do is never look at what people offer me for commission. It doesn't even, I never even look to see, but I had a shocker because I sold 2 listings in there. They're Ryan Homes, they're 55 plus, and I got the contracts through yesterday, and I realized that, oh my God, they're not paying what you normally pay. So I got paid $2,000 on a $400,000 townhome, and another one was 500 and some thousand, and it was a single family home, and I got $3,000. It's like, that's less than 1%. I was shocked. And
Dan, where have you been?
I haven't sold a new construction in a while.
That happened to Carrie 4 times, right?
Carrie sold 4 Ryan Homes in the same community, and I said, Carrie, you need to call that agent, see if they have a program for multiple deals that they give you extra money. Probably not, but it can't hurt to ask.
Ryan they wouldn't even give you a light bulb if you asked for it.
She's getting $2,000 on each one. 4 houses she sold. She's gonna make eight grand.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, it wouldn't have changed what I was doing for my client because that's what I wanted.
That's what she
But,
said.
yeah, it was a shocker to me because I couldn't believe that they were getting away with it. And that's just how crazy supply and demand is right now. They can call the shots. And, if you get into a situation with a listing, you might be able to reduce your commission to get that deal done in this market. I mean, you can use it as leverage. You might, if you got to take 2% versus 2.5% or 2.5% versus 3% to get a deal done, you can do that because of our model. We have a 100% model. You are the boss of it. It's not going to affect us as owners. It's going to, affect you a little bit if you don't get the deal. That's what I'm saying. So think about it. Use it as your leverage.
Yeah, it's easier to take a little bit less money for sure if you have to kick it in and throw it in.
Most of these other companies will not allow their agents to do it unless they pay it back. Like Berkshire Hathaway and stuff, they can't really negotiate their commissions.
All right, let's talk about listing in, if that's okay. You guys want to talk about, so hey, we're the listing agent and we've got multiple offers. Now what do we do? So Mo just went through this, but
Oh, Julie.
and so here's the thing. So there's a lot of steps involved. I mean, it's not just once you get the offers, it's handling and talking to the agents and deciding what to do and how to handle it and what to say to these agents, because they're all going to call you and text you and how many offers do you have and what do I got to do to make mine work, and we'll be flexible, and you've got to manage all these people. So I think that so let's talk about on the listing end first. Obviously, you're going to know if you have a really hot property, whether you decide up front if you're going to, 1, have an open house, 2, are you going to present offers at a certain time, or are you going to present them as they come in? So that's what you have to decide with your seller. Your seller may not want to go through 4 days of the door being open with 100 people through because you had 30 showings and 3 of them per showing. He may not want that, COVID or not. So you have to kind of come up with your plan of what to do. so for example, I just put that house back up on the market on Horseshoe. We went up on Thursday, set up an open house on Sunday, and I didn't put anything in the writing right away. I kind of left it open because I thought, I don't know, it's main road, it's, we'll see how it goes. But as I got interest and showings and people saying they're going to write offers, then I decided offers were going to be presented on Monday. We're going to get past the open house, and the seller agreed with that. So we made that decision together. So you can kind of change as you go, okay, and as the listing goes. I know with what Mo just did, she had, she obviously had, her sellers were very frightened of COVID and didn't want it open, didn't want an open house. So Mo came up with a really good marketing plan for them, scheduled the appointment. She was there. Her and Carol had like probably 15 showings or more in 2 days, but they were all scheduled, and she wiped the house down and all that, and ended up getting a whole bunch of offers. But it's stressful.
But I think, sorry, Julie, I think the key point to that, what happened and what worked, was having the 3D video put up and telling people there's no open house. And I was a listing agent host. So all the buyer agents came and I was there, which gave me an opportunity to just sell the hell out of the place. So we got 16 showings, 9 offers. The return was really, really good, but we didn't have any riffraff or looky-loos or neighbors or any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, with Carol working outside, helping me with everything, it just worked really well. So it was such a learning curve for me too.
So you basically did a coming soon. Your seller provided you with a video with some music in the background because that's what he wanted to do. And you provided that, and then you had professional photos done with the Matterport.
Yeah.
You had that Matterport done, right?
So the coming soon, I fired out there with their video, which was really good.
It was
For
good.
the owners doing it.
Yep.
And then I thought, let's get people's attention. And then the Matterport, because I was kind of thinking, am I going to waste my money on this if the video is up? But I think that really helped using that. And then I think it got people in the house kind of virtually. And then it just brought all the people that were coming there were people that were going to make offers most likely. And I actually had somebody from Keller Williams call me late Monday, totally missed the party and wanted to submit a 10th offer, but I had to tell her, sorry, it's a done deal. So, I mean, I'm going to try it for, please God, I get more listings soon and try it because it was good. And rather than having all the 50 people, I know it wasn't the opportunity to catch clients on my end, but this was something that was best for my client and yielded them nearly $25,000 over asking with no appraisal contingency.
Leverage that.
And no inspections. Yep.
Make sure you put out your just sold cards and really leverage that.
Yep.
So before we get to that point, so then I want to kind of talk about the process. So, okay, this is great. So, you kind of try to come up with your marketing plan ahead of time for the listing, but then how do you handle all the offers that come in? I mean, that can be stressful too. So you got to really be, like Dan said, you can't miss anything that comes through. You got to be able to look at the offers and make sure you see everything. And it was helpful. So Mo called me in, and I actually let her go through them first because I didn't want to so she went through them all first. And then once she had them all summarized, we talked about each one. But what was nice about it was the ones that had summaries, it saved her a little bit of work. But then the ones that didn't, she had to get in and create her own summary. So she had them all lined up. I took a picture of her. She didn't know I was taking a picture of her. She had them all lined up. And Sam came in that day and saw it. And what a great day as a listing agent. You're looking at 9 offers. It took her all day, but so what? And she had a couple questions for some agents. If you might have one transaction, but maybe there's something that needs to be changed. And that's what happened. So don't be afraid to call the mortgage person. By the way, Alex Luboff was the mortgage person, Dan, your buddy Alex. And Anthony had picked up, and we had talked to Anthony. The agent made the change. And then that was the deal that they took, right, Mo? That was the one that they took. The seller was a financial guy, so he was really looking at the interest rates and all of that. So you have to really be very careful on the listing end, and probably can't hurt to have somebody else help you with that and take a look and make sure you're not missing anything. And then one of her offers came in that said that they would pay the transfer tax. So we had to look at that and say, okay, that's as if that was going to net them this price. That transaction netted them about $1,000 more than the other one, but it had a home inspection. Actually, it really didn't, because the other one still had the escalation clause to go higher than it anyway. But it had a home inspection. And so, the people didn't want anybody else in their house. So
It was just for informational purposes, but yeah, the agent missed the whole point that these people are COVID cautious. They haven't come out of their house since like a year, and they have 2 kids that like aren't allowed out. Like they're really, really super cautious, but they missed that whole part that they don't want anybody else in the house. So
the one that worked was the person that waived the inspections, and they were so relieved that they weren't going to have somebody, calling through their house and opening and touching and doing everything, because they spent like 3 hours. Now that's a little bit of a unique situation. Not every seller is going to be like that, but you have to just kind of be, careful with it. So the point is the terms. It's not always price. Terms sometimes can.
And I will say, Julie, after going through the whole day, I came home. Finally, they decided, we got the new AOS sent over. I probably was looking at it for like 8 hours. And when I read it, because I thought I don't want to miss anything, at the end, when it was supposed to say buyers will be responsible if home doesn't appraise for the difference of the money, it actually said sellers. And I was like, what the hell? So I called the agent, and she was laughing, and she said, we're not trying to get one over on you. I swear I'll have it changed. But it was after looking at it all day, like it was such a thing that hit me in the face that I just didn't see all day. It was the weirdest thing.
So that's really a good point. So really comb through the one that you're going to accept and make sure you don't miss anything. Okay, just make sure you don't miss anything. Really spend the time and look at it, because that is going to be your fault if you miss something like that. So
that would have been a big.
Yeah, I've seen agents recently not put in the mortgage commitment date into the contract. And that really is in their best interest of their buyer, because if, there's not one in there, then you can't really hold them to anything. So you got to really be careful and go through these contracts, especially when you get 10 contracts that, you really got to thoroughly go through them. What I usually do is go to there's a multiple offers form that they actually give you on Zip Forms. And it's real easy to do it. You plug and play. And that way you can actually like summarize everything and give it to your clients. Because if you miss telling them about one offer, and that one offer happens to be someone they know about, and you didn't go over that offer because it was lower, they might give you some, feedback on that.
I mean, just also, Dan, do you actually send every contract over to the seller?
No, I send that summary page though. And that thing, it really sets it up like an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It goes over all the highlighted points, and I send it over to them and say, like, let's go over these. And I usually put the first ones, the best ones up top, and say, look, the top 3 are the ones we need to look at, but we need to talk about all of them and who those buyers are, who the agents are, because everyone knows somebody, right? And I had this situation happen with me where I didn't really go over an offer that was like, it was asking price. Like, it was still a great offer, but it wasn't 20,000 over. So I didn't really highlight on it. And then they came back to me and said, hey, did so-and-so put in an offer? And I went back, I said, yeah, they did, but they only put in it as asking price. So we didn't really go over it too much. And they were like, oh man, I would have done the deal with them, even though I lost, some money on it. So I was like, oh, it was an oh wow moment for me. Like, shit, I should have really gone over that a little bit better.
That's probably a unique situation too. Not everybody's going to know everybody. You know what I mean? So you're right. You should present all offers. That's our job, is to present all offers. So good job. Any other thoughts on listing end?
Where's that form, Dan?
It's on Zip Forms.
It's on Zip Forms under
Zip
multiple
Forms,
offers.
okay.
Yep.
Honestly, Mo, I forgot about it, and I apologize.
It's okay.
I forgot that was there. I might have helped you out a little bit.
Could save me 3 hours, Julie.
It takes, I'm telling you, no, I'm telling you, I know what you're talking about, because
Just kidding.
when they come in too, usually as soon as they come in, I start putting them in the multiple offers, because you can get lost. I mean, I don't know about your emails, but mine sometimes hide emails from you. They go into chats, somebody responds, and then you don't see it. So as soon as they come in, make sure you make a note of it somewhere, because if you miss one, it could get you in trouble.
I have one other quick little topic to discuss as like an open discussion. Sam, is it okay if I just bring up yours just real quick, what we talked about today? So Sam asked a question, and this, I just want everybody else's thoughts on it, because I feel like this is going to happen too. So she has her listing. The sellers did a an inspection report ahead of time before she put it on the market. There were some things that came up. Buyer put the offer in, sold, and then did the inspections. They did inspections. They didn't do a home inspection, but they asked for something to be repaired that was on the original home inspection that the seller provided. And the question was, can they do that? So my answer was yes, they can. They can ask for anything, but it just is a bad situation, because you basically you're assuming that they read the inspection and are accepting it and accepting those repairs, but they asked for it. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Has anybody come across that at all?
Buyers can ask for anything they want, period. Sometimes they'll put in the contracts that they're not going to ask for anything under $500. Guess what? They do anyway, and you have to respond to it. And if you respond to it, it's a way out of the contract for them if they don't want to do it. So just be careful.
After we talked, Sam, I kept thinking about that some more, and I was trying to figure out how could you avoid that. I think the only way you might have been able to avoid that is if you put something in the agreement of sale that the buyer accepts the home inspection, that the seller and all repairs on the home inspection.
Yeah,
Or seller will not do any repairs on the inspection report.
right.
Buyer acknowledges home inspection report, seller will not do any repairs.
And they didn't elect to have a gutter roof guy out, but they did. And that's why they asked for it, because apparently this guy told them, oh, it's shot, like it has to be replaced, it's causing damage. So we didn't even know that they were even having this person out to look at anything, and then they're asking for it. So we got it worked out.
And they waived the home inspection, didn't they?
Yeah, they waived the home inspection. They just did a well and septic.
That's not right. They shouldn't have had somebody out there to look at that.
I know.
Well, they can always ask, like you said, like it's not illegal to ask. And if you don't give them permission to do something, then they can't do it. And if they have no contingencies, then they don't really have the right. But
What happens if they just do it?
Yeah, like what?
Like Sam's saying, what happens if they just, they're basically, it's not their property yet. Aren't they trespassing? Like,
It'd be as big of a problem as you make it.
So where are you in this situation? Because I gave Sam a few pointers, or ideas, but where are you in this mess? Did you talk to your seller yet? I shouldn't say
Yeah,
that.
she took it a lot better than I thought she was going to.
Good.
But yeah, we're giving them a credit for the 3 major things that they asked for. And yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna work it out.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. And she didn't freak out about having the roof guy out. So
Okay.
Is it a hot property?
it's the one you came to my open house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, in that situation, I think I'd probably work with them a little bit, because you did get a lot for that house. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You raised my value. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I actually used it the other day for another listing that's like a mile up the street from there, and said, hey, this one just sold. And they couldn't believe how much they got for it. They were like, wow, we can definitely get what we want for ours now. So yeah, you helped out the area.
Yeah.
Your seller is in a different situation too. That's the other thing too. You got to figure out, like, is your seller reasonable? Is your seller fair? I think that's what I texted you. So your seller already bought. She doesn't want to go back on the market. She's probably more likely than to work this out, right?
Yeah, she told me, she said, I just want this over with. I just want to get to the end of this. So yeah,
You don't want contracts to go back on the market. If you can work a deal out, work it out no matter what, because you're not going to get the same deal as you did before.
right.
It looks like a stagnant property. It looks like something's wrong with it. It's just you work the deals out. Some of these agents will fight you over everything, and it's ridiculous. I mean, literally over something that's $500. If you got to pay for it yourself, do it to make the deal go through.
Yeah, and a lot of times, the agents will fight you before they even talk to their seller. I was talking to Shirley. That happened to Shirley. The guy who like wigged out on her and said, "Forget it," and we're not doing it. It was a reply to inspections, and then write up the release and all this kind of stuff. And then she did, and then the guy was like, "Oh, well, the seller said okay," and the buyer was like, "Screw you," basically. I don't know. I have to actually follow up with Shirley to see if that one worked out. Shirley, if you're listening to this, you have to call me and let me know. But anyway, so yeah, so and I told her, I said, if that happens, they didn't talk to the seller. Sometimes I'll just say, look, just talk to your seller. I know you don't like it. Please just talk to your seller. Just present this to the seller, see what the seller says. So, and then we have to be careful how we talk to our clients. So we can't portray that anger that agent had or that seller had onto the buyer, because then that's going to determine what the buyer is going to do. The buyer is going to get upset too. So we have to take that all in and then go, okay, well, this is what they said. Even though they're angry, you can't portray that on the client. You have to really be very careful with that. I think that's important. It's hard though. We'll say it's hard. So call one of us first, vent it, get it out, then call your client. Then it's out. Okay. Because
Like I did this morning.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Kind of like somebody needs somebody to talk you off the ledge and then go back. So here's Joe getting a sign. Joe, come out of the closet. You made all this noise.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. All right, well, we're about ready to end the meeting at this point. Does anybody have anything else that they want to talk about? Questions, anything, thoughts?
Set appointments. Get out there and set them. Call over right now and call whoever you're working with and set an appointment up. I'm telling you, it works. And ask for business. I can't stress that enough. Every time I talk to somebody, I ask them, who should I be talking to? Who's going to be moving? Who's getting divorced? Who's, doing what? And people will tell you, especially the social people on Facebook and stuff, that they know everyone's business.
Yeah,
Talk to those people.
To validate that point, Shirley just said yesterday that her son's best man put out there on Facebook looking for a real estate agent, and I don't know what platform it was on, but 60 people answered. Right. And then Shirley said to her son, "What the hell? Does he not?" And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I forgot you were an agent." People forget unless you're in their face all the time.
Look up and say, "Oh, I need a realtor." Everyone's going to go after it.
So I hope this was helpful, and I hope this was a good discussion. I know I had a lot of information last week. I kind of really wanted this to be more of a discussion. So please remember that if you guys want to do some role playing or a quick little talk about questions, maybe what I'll do is I'll come up with a piece that I can send out to you guys, questions to ask when you get these leads, when these leads come in. This just a quick little, we're going to end with this, the Sync Pro, we're meeting with them on the 23rd. I think it's Tuesday of next week. And they're going to set us up on the platform. And that's when they need the areas that we need to cover. So Dan and I are going to talk about this, but if there's an area that you want covered that normally wouldn't be, say if you want to go beyond Chester County, if you want to get leads out in Lancaster County or Berks County or a certain part of it, just kind of maybe either give us towns or zip codes, the areas that you want to cover.
Yeah,
and
how does it work?
Make sure that, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a blanket area of the location so that we get leads in that area, and then you can narrow what you want to do. Okay. So
Chester County, and then if we want specific towns, do it that way, or whatever county.
I think
By
so.
zip
What we're
code.
gonna do is we're gonna do a big circle of the area, but I just wanna make sure we don't miss any area, okay? And then, sorry, let me close that door, it's cold air's coming in through there.
Okay.
So we're gonna do a big area, and then, once we have that big area covered as your individual system, you can then narrow it down more. You only want these areas, okay? But we have to kind of come up with an area. So if you want to go into Lancaster County, or you want to go into Berks County, or Montgomery County, or Delaware County, let us know. And then that way we can kind of cover that whole area, and then you can narrow it down. Is that right, Dan? That's how that works, right?
And then-
You can narrow the
Try to
area.
pick out 5 zip codes that you really want to focus on. That would be the key start.
I mean, you don't necessarily want to have, I don't think you would anyway. Maybe you do, I don't know. You wouldn't necessarily want to get like leads from 6 counties. I mean, it would just be, I think you would probably want to narrow it a little bit better for you.
And how would that work? Like, let's say you pick 3 zip codes versus 10 towns. Do you still get the
Same amount of leads. Yeah.
same amount of leads? They're just, okay, so you can actually concentrate an area and get, okay, well,
You
that's
could
good.
just say, I want
You just-
Westchester Borough,
If you
and
just want to do like Westchester, Downingtown, you can just do that. Or just Coatesville, or just Twin Valley.
Sorry, Dan, my
You can do
Siri
the whole
Kicked on. What did you say?
so you could just pick one zip code if you wanted to and just focus on that area. But it's better to have, 4 or 5 different areas, so you can cover different grounds.
And remember,
One-
some areas were a little bit more expensive too, so you might not get as many leads. So if you, and I have a feeling like Downingtown, Westchester is probably a little more expensive on the leads. You may not get as many leads, okay?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the way you explained it to me, like some of the leads would be like $6 a lead. Some of them going to be like $3 to $4 a lead. Like the leads out in Honeybrook are a lot cheaper than they are in Westchester. So, depending on what you are, but you also get to set your parameters on pricing, right? I mean, like,
Well, we have the pricing set up. We did that pricing set up, the parameters of 200 and 400 for the amount of leads. So, and if you want to go beyond and spend more money and get more leads, we can do that. So,
And
it's
then,
gonna be awesome, though. The whole CRM system is going to be night and day from the one that we have.
yeah. But I think the key is going to be when we get this is that it's the follow-up and determining whether they're A, B, C leads, and then staying in touch with them and following up. So. Anyway, anybody else? Good for the group? Any other thoughts? Well, thank you guys for attending. I know we have kind of a small group, but I think it was really a good discussion, and I think that everybody will benefit. Since we recorded, we'll send it out. And so the next, going into April, so it's going to be, our next one chat's going to be April 7th and April 21st. Okay, just so you know. And that's the first and third Wednesday in April. But if you guys want to do something ahead of time, just call me. Maybe we'll do something about, like I said, floor time, or, qualifying the calls, qualifying the leads. We can do that. Maybe we should do that before we get all set up on sync. I think it'd be a good idea to do that. So, all right, we'll go drink.